And we are now completely live. Welcome to episode. John?
I have no earthly idea.
I have no clue. I think we're on episode 24.
24?
24. We are on
Wow.
episode 24. If you're watching us on Facebook Live, let us know. Do a quick shout out. I have to reset something, which I don't really like the way this works on Facebook because I have to copy the URL each individual time it comes in so
Oh,
I can get the chat on there, which is okay. I do this because I love everybody. This is my lot in life. So, John, while I'm doing this, you want to talk about our patron real quick and our sponsor because we got to get that out of the way before they beat us across the head.
my God, I was right. It actually is episode 24.
Sweet.
Patreon.com/more than dice, I'm sure.
What?
Check us out. You get the pre-ramble at the basic level. And then at the higher levels, you get Kathy's videos with her painting. I think she did OSL this time.
No, painting red and blue flames, and also worked on her lava base. She went the opposite direction as I did on the lava,
Oh,
and it's a
yeah, fire
two-parter.
base and fire model. Gotcha, part one.
Mm-hmm.
You also get dice. Don't forget dice at the $2 level. You get my minis and movies. At the $15 level, we'll do a raffle for all the $15 subscribers. One of them gets a free model painted by Kathy, who I learned, much to my chagrin, that I didn't know that she's won Golden Demons and stuff.
Yes, Kathy is actually, and we're actually going to be giving away one of her models on the podcast for our 15 plus levels. She is an incredible painter, guys. So if you want to win a model by her, join us on the Patreon, sign up for that. Also, we've been releasing a lot of live stuff, a lot of free stuff for y'all. I'm going to be doing a review on an RPG pretty soon. And a board game pretty soon. John's, of course, going to have minis and movies pretty soon. And we got a new Super Bear this week or next week?
Sewer Bear is recording Saturday unless things go to hell, because like I said, I got one player out, so
Okay.
if another one goes out, I might have to nix the session. We'll see. Depends on who it is.
Yeah. Also on that, we want to thank Broken Egg Games. If I can get my finger on the screen right over there. Yes. Broken Egg Games is a sponsor of this section. They're actually going to be sponsoring the painting section. Guys, if you play War Machine Hordes, or you play role-playing games, L5R card game, or you play any X-Wing and stuff, they have great token sets. They're official producers of the War Machine Horde token sets, which I really like their stuff because it's nice and easy and big.
Oh,
and
yeah.
They're
It looks
big.
sweet, too.
Yes, which is really, really good. Also, if you noticed in our corner box over here, that's not Kathy.
No.
Kathy, we didn't polymorph her. Not Kathy. If you're new, this is Jackie. Jackie is going to be joining me. She's one of my players on the new Star Wars RPG that we're going to be streaming live.
Hello,
What?
citizens.
Did you see who's in the Facebook one? It is Chili. What the hell?
I don't know what to say.
What? How are we grace? All right, we bow down. Thank you, Chili. You're amazing. Thank you for joining us.
He's coherent enough to type, which means
I know.
he's not drinking much.
Definitely not drinking enough. So let's go back. Jackie is joining us today. Kathy had to go to the Super Bowl and hang out with some friends. So, of course, we're going to let her go have, fun. And I invited Jackie on. Like I said, she's going to be playing in the new Star Wars RPG I got going, which we will be streaming on Wednesdays. So we're going to have a lot of fun. It's going to be pretty interesting. So she's going to join us to talk about RPGs because we got a lot of information to go through. So we got to get her drinking out of the way. Jackie, what are you drinking tonight?
I am drinking Ice House.
So you hate your life.
I do. If you drink it really fast, you forget why you're drinking it.
Oh, okay. That's pretty much. John, what you got?
Well, I'm going to start off with a shot of the Loco Nut from Captain Morgan.
Oh.
Ooh,
Then
very
followed up,
pretty.
I've got Sprite mixed with the Jim Beam Apple, which I'm going to try for the first time. We'll see how that goes.
Ah, nice.
It's good.
And in honor of playing role-playing games and talking about role-playing games, I'm going to drink some Dragon Milk, which is aged stout in bourbon barrels. So This stuff is really good. I was kind of, iffy because it said dragon's milk, and I was worried about it. So, guys, thanks for joining us. Make sure you take care of yourself. Check us out. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
That's good.
That's tasty.
That's real good. All right. So,
It's not.
Sorry.
So other than that, guys, I'm going to do some painting while we talk about this. So, John, why don't we get started with the difference between role-playing now and role-playing then, and how it's changed based on technology. So I'm going to move the camera. Watch out for the flight cam. I'm going to switch over in just a minute. Solo paint cam.
That's actually a really good start to the topic
Yeah.
because even just in a handful of games, let's use the two biggest examples I know of would been, even though Jackie didn't like it, D&D 4th edition. The Wizards online character builder was an amazing boon for that.
What?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, it's just so much easier to make a character that way than having to write out your cards. You're like literally like, pick some stuff, hit a button, print, cut a little bit, we're done. It took what was really a somewhat tedious prospect and made it easier. So I mean, that's great. A couple other games have character builders, but I'm honestly, in my opinion at least, you're going to disagree, of course, because you're about to start a game on Skype. It hasn't really changed much for me beyond that. I mean, I play Champions, which is rumored to be one of the most complicated games in the history of mankind. It's really untrue. Making a character is a bit of an ordeal, but there's a character builder for that now, and it's super easy. But that being said, it's one of those things, you know the game after a certain point. You don't need that because you know all the rules in your head. But yeah,
gotta fix my camera.
You're going to have a very different take on this from the Skype perspective, because honestly, otherwise I find, I don't want to say technology is a detriment, but it actually, it's a little hit or miss, because cell phones at the table are a problem.
Why?
Distraction.
Oh.
I mean, it's great for when you're getting one-on-one with somebody and they can be quiet and do something and not be, bugging. I mean, I had to sit through an entire 8-hour gaming session once and only to show up at the last, say, 45 minutes. Because sometimes that's just the way the game goes.
Yeah.
But, nowadays they can send their phone, but on the bad side, you get text, you get all that stuff. None of that stuff we had to worry about when we were younger.
No, I agree. Don't have to worry about it. But with everybody having their busy life nowadays, I can see the reason why everybody's like wanting to play Skype games. They're using Skype to play RPGs. Because that was one of the things I was trying to figure out what to do whenever I was doing this. I'm trying to fix the camera, guys. So y'all can get a good picture. Y'all can see what I'm painting. Which, if I can get enough money, I will buy a second camera so I don't have to do this every single time. And it won't stay focused. All right, watch this. Yeah. Technology, we don't have it. Let me do an autofocus and see if that works.
I mean, Skype games, so our local mega group, if you will, where you say you're running a game and you get 9-10 people coming up to play.
Uh-huh.
Untenable. Split into two smaller groups, and one of the guys, the GM, is in Brazil right now. So they're actually playing occasionally by Skype, which apparently is working pretty well. So I mean, it's all good. It's just not something I've had to experience yet. I can tell you stories of a while for my long-standing Champions games where I don't want to say it was the only game in town, but I was one of the few games in town. So all the local group was like, I had a waiting list of players to get in, which is crazy.
Yeah.
At one point, I'm like, I've got like 70 of you guys on this waiting list. Why don't you guys make your own game?
Gotcha.
But Skype would help with that because some people are like, well, my normal group moved. I moved over here. I don't keep touch. Now you can just get in touch with them. I mean, it's right there at your fingertips at your computer. As long as you can keep the distractions down, it's super good.
I agree. One of the things is I was looking when I was decided I wanted to do this game, and I put it out as a Facebook thing to ask if anybody wanted to join, was looking at, programs, and I saw that Roll20 program thing for it, and it was actually pretty neat. It was really cool. I don't have the money to pay for it, but I thought it was interesting. Guys, what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on the Browns today, so I'm going to work on the boots, and the cloak. Because I actually am going to do the fur a grayish white. And so that's what we've been working on today while we're talking about this, like the belt and like
That
this
is
little rope. The standard. Um, and I thought that was interesting to do, but I don't have the money for that. And so I was like, well, just do it on Skype and, use XSplit and go for it.
Mhm.
So, other than that, because even talking and asking, I had about 12 people that said they wanted to play, and I put up 2 different games. And I said, I'm going to play Blades in the Dark, which is a thief run campaign, or I'll run a Star Wars one. And I got enough people for both that I thought was interesting. We did have conflicting problems with, what was it? The Star Wars. One person couldn't play when everybody else played, and he understood that he just couldn't do that, so he didn't have a problem with it. Sorry, Zeke. And then the Blades group, they all just kind of disappeared and decided not to do it. So I was like, that's a common thing. I only had like one person that was able to do it. And I was like, sorry.
Oh yeah, that happens. Honestly, that happens even with your regular, if you will, in real life games.
Correct.
Too.
It's still, I just thought that was interesting. It still happens and still works like that.
Being adults is tough.
Yeah. I mean, we've all got busy schedules. We all work.
Honestly, in my younger days, there was a point where I was playing in 2 games and running 3 others in a 5-day week.
Yes.
Or a 7-day week. It's like,
what university you live in?
it's crazy. Well, shh. No one
John's a
know.
time traveler.
Planet.
Yeah.
It was a different planet.
He's a time traveler. We know it.
No, I mean, I travel through time at the same rate you do.
This is not working out.
But nowadays with, I don't want to say real jobs, but real jobs.
Jobs.
I mean, when you run a game store, having a role-playing group every night is not a problem. You're there anyways to kind of show up and play. But when you have a real 9-to-5 job and other stuff, it gets a lot more difficult. And you get conflicting actors. I mean, honestly, one of my players in Sewer Bear hasn't been able to show up for 2 weeks. So the joke is that Evil Sewer Bear hit him so hard, she knocked him into 2 campaign sessions away. But, sickness happens. People just can't make it. Trips happen. When you're younger, sometimes role playing is the focus of
your life.
Week.
Yep.
So you get everything else done the rest of the days, and the role playing like I have to be there. I mean, that's how I was brought up. As weird as it sounds, my role playing group's like, this is a commitment. You've got to make it and all that. They're pretty hardcore on that. I don't think I would ever lay that rap on anyone nowadays. That's crazy. But it is hard to get a group together. So, I mean, Skype got to be good because you don't all have to be in the same spot. So you can find people all over the place. You can do role play with people who are out of the country, which is cool.
Yeah, and that was kind of the reason. I mean, I went with that. I didn't try to go with local because I already know local guys, and we've tried getting games together, and they haven't been able to get together and do stuff. So, I mean, I was like, let me see if I can find some, random one. And that's where Jackie and I have been Facebook friends. We, like typical Facebook friends, we know each other, we look at each other's stuff, but we never meet, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
It's the best way to put it. And that's where I started getting to know her, and we started, talking about the game, and she's like stupid, crazy enthusiastic about it, which I love when my players are crazy about the game.
The problem is I'm just crazy in general.
Okay, we can go with that.
Facebook is a really good technology point that links a lot of people together with games. I see a lot of people posting in groups looking for a game so-and-so night, can connect with XO people, and it's nice to see even strangers get together like that.
Absolutely. Even one of my local guys, he'll post like, I'm running this game, then prep for a con, and invite everyone he knows who role plays. And then just see who's interested in all that and talk it out. Just a little Facebook event. Facebook is really good for that. I am unfortunately at the problem of one of my players doesn't have Facebook.
Oh, yeah.
Facebook.
He's too cool.
Oh, no. Quite the opposite. He's too antisocial for that.
Too antisocial for Facebook?
Not Brushhead Dave is a slightly antisocial person.
Gotcha.
But he still comes and plays. I can still get in touch with him, but So I noticed how hard it is sometimes to throw those questions out. Like I'm like, oh, everyone, what do you think of this, this, and this? And I'm like, and let me ask Dave separately in a separate way. But no, I mean Facebook's super good for that, and I imagine even more so. I guess in your guys' case, since you're getting together a Skype group of people you haven't even met.
Yeah, I mean, Tim Banky is part of the group, and I've known Tim Banky for a while.
Everybody knows Tim Banky.
Yeah. So, I mean, and that's not that big of a problem. One of the other guys, Max, he's one of my, used to be locals. He had to move away for a job. So, that wasn't too hard to get a hold of. Jackie was the one that was, when I first saw it, I was like, oh, maybe she's just voting because she thinks it's cool and just whatever. And then when I set out the thing, she was all into it, which I'm really cool and really glad that she did because she's actually started pushing some of my other guys to make up and do some really cool and interesting things with their characters.
You gotta keep them in line.
Yeah. Because we've been doing a lot of background information and getting stuff ready. So, and I think that's interesting that, technology, because back when I was role playing, it was just meet someone randomly, at a game store or, through friends, and then you try to find people that were ready, and then you can find a group. John, I cannot check Facebook, or can't look at any chat, so if anybody comes up, let me know.
I'm on it.
Okay.
I'm on it.
So I have to, it was through all that. So I think with the technology, it's been really, really good. I think it actually, because I was looking, like I said, I was looking at that Roll20, and people were like, you could join a game there. It was, click to learn, or find a game of XYZ, and you could join it. I thought that was really interesting. Who would have thought, you could do that when I was a kid.
How much does it cost to run a game on there? I haven't looked.
Well, they have a fee schedule. Like if you pay this much a month, you get to do this extra with the game, or you get to add this stuff, and like it's like $100 a year for everything. But
it's really not bad. I mean, the smallest role playing group I would really consider is 3 players and a GM. That's 4 people.
Yeah,
that's $25 a year. It's not even a thing.
Yeah. But you get the ability to stream music, throw up maps, all that really cool, technological thing. Have character sheets available on screen. I mean, so it's got a lot of cool things to it. There's nothing wrong with it. I just, I'm poor white trash, so I have to be careful with my money.
Oh, that's what I said. You got to get all the players in together with it. I mean,
that's
an easy thing for all of you to share the burden on.
Correct. Especially if you're going to play something that's going to be a year-long campaign or something that's going to be that.
You can't do it on a whim. You've got to get people who are serious. And honestly, this sounds weird. It's the same idea we have with leagues. As soon as someone pays money, it's more serious. It's less just, I'm just going to do what I want to do for a little bit and then drop out.
Correct.
It's I put money into this. I should get my most out of it.
Yeah, it's definitely motivating.
Yeah.
Yeah, because everybody drops out of leagues like crazy unless they pay money. We all know that.
I'm trying to remember the name of this damn thing. There was a website I used that basically lets you make a free blog about your game.
That's cool.
I don't remember what it was because it was under one of my other. I had a separate email account back in the day for just role playing stuff, which I have not been on in a long, long time.
Old Yahoo.
Oh yeah, I mean I have lots of Yahoo accounts. I mean, but it's a really old one. Not that old. I actually do still have a MySpace page. I'm not gonna lie. I haven't checked it in a while, but it was a cool. There's websites out there. Like there's one. Like I said, I really forget what it was called, but it lets you create a blog, and I would have my players rotate through writing up a summation from their character's view of what happened, and I would go in and add the links to the places and all, and just they'd have a little thing they could look at and figure out what stuff is. If you're making your own world, that kind of thing is great because it gives them a resource if they want to go further. So, but I would say role-playing is probably one of the games that has been the most hesitant to actually introduce technology into it.
Yes, I agree with you on that.
It's because a lot of old role players are old grognards, and that newfangled stuff ain't gonna work for us.
What?
Until they drag us kicking and screaming in.
Yeah. With that, uh, Jackie, I'm not dissing you or anything, but you're pretty young, so
I am a little young.
yeah, younger compared to us. And how long have you been role playing?
Oh my goodness. Pretty long time. Since I was a pretty young child, I would say I really got into it when I was 13. I had a Dungeons
So
and Dragons club in school. Uh,
6 years
and then
ago.
from there, yeah,
Oh,
yeah, 3 months.
yikes! Getting rough in here too. Ah, Obsidian Portal is what it was called. Apparently, it's still there.
Now, your D&D one that you do, Jackie, is that face-to-face local group, or
It
is that
is. It's a very old local group. We've been been getting together for years. We're actually considering Skyping in one of our characters. They live in Maryland now, and for us being in Pennsylvania, it's a little bit of a drive for a session every week.
uh-huh.
So we may do the whole laptop at the table with their face on it. So there's another way to try to augment it there. We'll have to make a little outside person to put the screen on for their face.
Cool. With that, let's talk about role-playing games in general. We have our favorites that we like to play that are, definitely 100%. I will always play this if someone puts it up. And so, Jackie, what's your favorite RPG to play?
Dark Heresy. It's the Black Industry Fantasy Flight one. I want to say it came out probably around 2008-ish.
Uh-huh.
Could be wrong. It's really good though. Play as an acolyte. You work for an inquisitor. Very future cathedric, 40K world going on there.
Yeah.
Very dark.
Oh, 2008 on the dot.
Is it?
Well done. Well
I
done.
turned 18 that year. I remember being an adult buying
Fuck.
my first book with my real money there. My big girl money.
She impresses me and then stabs me in the heart at the same time. All right, proceed.
Well, speaking of Dark Heresy, I would say my favorite actually wouldn't be the core. You need Dark Heresy to play the other ones, but I think my favorite out of that genre would be Rogue Trader, which was kind of like if you were a Star Trek, special captain of a ship character going through the warp. Oh, so many horrible, chaotic things happened to so many people. Many lives were lost.
John, what's your must-play all the time?
Well, it's one that I have not played in. I don't know. I'm going to say 15 years, but that's probably been more than that. It's actually Champions, aka the Hero System.
Okay.
Superhero in general, though you can do it for anything. I've played feudal Japanese in it, played science fiction in it, played a bunch of stuff in it. I just like the versatility, and literally, I can do anything with it.
Yeah.
There's a website out there that does a lot of stuff for it, and guy collected all the sci-fi stuff he could. I've got a bunch of Robotech conversions on there so that people can play Robotech if they want with it. I love the heck out of it. It's what I'm running right now for Sewer Bear. I just don't ever get a chance to play it.
The life of a GM.
It is. Life of a GM is definitely difficult.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
You get through. What is your favorite, Gonzo?
My favorite, and I did the review of it, is Earthdawn.
Wow.
I will always offer to run an Earthdawn campaign. I will always play an Earthdawn campaign when I can, because I like the system, the dice mechanic system. I like how the world is, because it's a fantasy game. And for people who don't know, Earthdawn was originally made by FOSSA back in the day. And
Back in the day.
Yeah. And I have a review on it on our Facebook page if you are on our YouTube channel. If you want to hear my review of it, because a new edition came out, which I got to play at Gen Con with the designers, which was really fun.
I bet.
And it's got a really good magic system. The world is really good. Everything's really good about it. It actually puts the characters in a good position. It really benefits characters to do certain things outside of who they are and everything. It actually is a lot of fun. They've got a really good story system built into it. I'm trying to concentrate here too. I don't mess all this stuff up.
Shh.
Shh, be very, very quiet. I'm painting minis. And then on top of that, there's a lot of good supplements. A lot of good things that can go with it. You could actually do the original system if you wanted to, or if you wanted to, just do the new edition, which came out recently. I'm not sure what edition it's called, but they did a Kickstarter, and you can get it still. It's fairly cheap. Not a lot of resources online for it because it went through a lot of editions.
Yeah,
Different companies.
It never really hit as big as fast as other games, honestly. Well,
No,
sorry, let's see. It never hit as big as Shadowrun.
correct. And if you don't know, Earthdawn is the original world, and then Shadowrun hit after it.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it is actually the same world, by the way.
Versa, I think. Earthdawn's actually in the future,
Mm.
isn't it?
Mm-mm.
Isn't the seventh world?
For understand, it was Earthdawn, and then
I remember it being opposite, but I mean,
I could be wrong too.
It's his favorite. He would know.
Yeah, don't judge me.
no,
But it is the same universe and same world. Other than that, I really like it. It's a ton of fun. It's got a lot of good game mechanics that I really like. It has a lot of cool magic ability system. Because you just don't pick up a +2 longsword and you get to swing it and hey, it's a +2 longsword. Magic items have their own, and I want to say this right, own soul to be, per se. You have your mundane stuff like magic, healing potions and stuff, but like a good magic sword has its own story and history, and if you find out about the story and the history, you can make it more powerful and conduct deeds with it. For example, there was a bow that one of the deeds you had to do with it is give the bow back, or give the bow to your worst enemy. And if your worst enemy does, something with the bow, and then they give it back to you willingly, you get like a huge reward on the weapon, but also a huge amount of experience points, which they call legend points. So a lot of weapons have that type of ability. There is no healer in the game. Everybody can heal themselves. Just whether they can heal themselves in combat or not is a different story. Combat is super deadly, super good. Magic users are really, really powerful, but they have to cast magic in a certain way, or they call down astral creatures that can kill you in just a blink of an eye. What else? Very vibrant world. Super, super good on history. So if you like good history on the world, you'll like it.
that was Fast's staple, is just having really good, deep histories.
Yeah.
Because if you look, they started with BattleTech, and BattleTech has more history than half the role-playing games nowadays.
Yeah.
And that was a minis game, not even practically a board game.
No, yeah, that was. Geez, this camera's pissing me off.
So, you want to talk about some more games we like, or you want to go into some questions? We only have like a handful right now, so.
Because I like more games.
Yeah, there's a ton of games we can talk about. Trust me.
What's your number 2, Jackie?
Oh man, I'm gonna have to go for overall experience for my second favorite, and that's gonna actually be Mouse Guard, which is a little less known. It's
it's amazing.
So exciting. It's so fun, and what is it, the burning wheel system or something like that? It's just really different. It's just, I don't know. I really, really enjoy that one.
Yeah, it's very cool, very flavorful.
It is, and when a character dies in that game because they're a mouse, it's just so much more hurtful. I mean, I killed a Dragonborn last night by accident in D&D and laughed, but when a character dies in Mouse Guard, you gotta stop and have a funeral, because it's tragic. Yes.
I own Mouse Guard, and I thought it was an amazing system. Really good. I even bought like some of the graphic novels so I could learn more about the world and, so on and so forth, because it's really
They're very
good.
cool, too.
Yeah,
legit.
I mean, yeah, you are playing a mouse that, whatever, but it was really, really good. I highly recommend that one. I'll agree with you on that one. Good pick. John, what's yours?
Toss up here. I'm gonna have to go with Shadowrun. I know the guys in the chat room mentioned it. Xander Warlord mentioned that I played Shadowrun for a long time. It was sort of my gateway into adult role playing, if you will.
Gotcha.
Because all the kids play D&D. You play D&D all the time. It was the brand name.
Yes.
It's fine, but I remember that being the first time I actually got with a group that actually had, an actual concise and interesting plot. It plays really well. The whole, you're meeting up, you're doing a mission is great for a haphazard group and get people in and out. Because literally you can be like one group one time, you finish whatever that run is, and next time, maybe two of the guys couldn't show up, two other guys show up. It's fine because you're just a bunch of mercenary criminals doing quasi-legal things that just happen to show up.
Correct.
Just a bunch of murder hobos.
Yeah, murder hobos. Sometimes I can tell you stories of playing and doing all sorts of terrible things I wouldn't normally do. One time, me and Norrin are playing, and I looked at the Troy, who's also in our group, or server group, is trying to get this guy to give him keys to a van, but the guy's like a stoner. He's burnt out. He's not getting it. So I just point at my gun that's silenced in my jacket to Norrin. Norrin gives me the nod, so I take it out and shoot him. He's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "You gave me the nod." He's like, "It wasn't that kind of nod." Like, pointing to a gun, there's only one type of nod.
That's hilarious.
But that's kind of stuff like it's commonplace because you're all criminals. I mean, sure, you're living on the fringes of society. You can say you're the noble Robin Hood type, but really you're not. You're playing criminals. It's kind of fun and cathartic to a point.
Mm-hmm.
It has a very rich world. I mean, if you told me prior to it someone's going to build cyberpunk and fantasy together and it's going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread, I'd have laughed in their face. But they did, and it was really good. It's been through a ton of editions.
Uh-huh.
I don't want to say I don't like the newer editions. I don't have much experience with the newer editions. I've played one of the newer editions once. Other than that, it's all been 3rd edition and back, which I love.
Yeah.
2nd and 3rd edition of Shadowrun is great stuff. I'm willing to try the newer ones. I just haven't in a while.
Let's see. My second one, and it's kind of a tie, because they're very few and unknown type games. There's a role-playing game, and they actually did a miniatures game, and then they did a video game, and of course nothing went off. And it was done by FFG. They bought the license to bring it over here to America. Was Anima. Anima.
Yeah.
Its combat is super stupid. You have to be really careful as a GM and as a player that you could kill the monsters really quickly, and people can die really quickly because of just an exploding dice roll or something that happens. But if you wanted to play Final Fantasy, this is the game for you. All the characters are pretty much taken right out of Final Fantasy. If you wanted to play a guy that summons, a behemoth demon, to fight for you, go right ahead. You want to be a fighter with a huge sword, go right ahead. It is pretty much Final Fantasy. I believe it's a game that's made in Spain, is where it originally came from. But it has a really, really good history, really fun. A lot of interesting things go with it. I only played it a couple of times, but it was very, very fun. You name it, you could do it in the game. There wasn't any ifs, ands, or buts to it. I'm going to be applying some brown ink to my, some PP brown ink to my brown parts in just a minute. But it was really good. Some of the books are really hard to get a hold of now. I know one of the books I have, people are paying like $175 for it because you can't get it in English anymore. And they only did a limited run of it. And I'm like, how much money do I need to go on my trips?
That's always sad on the for role-playing supplement because it's a print.
Yes.
I mean, nowadays, why is it not in PDF?
Correct. It's been a while. But there was one game that I played, and I didn't play it. I ran it. And it has some really cool mechanics and it's super super big in Japan. It's one of the most popular RPGs, and it's Tenrabancha Zero. Um, and it's really interesting because all the characters are tied together before you even start playing. Because you can roll on this chart or you can choose, and like so and so is the father, so and so is the mother, and why they hate, and you have to play off all these attitudes you have towards each other. Um, but it's your typical anime super powered game where you could be, Dragon Ball Z style beating each other's up. Um, and so it's just huge battles, and you have to contend with if you get too powerful, you could lose yourself and become like this big demon thing, and you have to be careful. And it was a really good role playing game, and I stress the role playing because if you weren't, it was a problem.
Yeah. I really like the idea of the pre-game get-together where you build new characters to get your characters together.
Uh-huh.
I actually do that. I forget what website I stole it from years ago, but he had this thing where you all these questions. You'd form bonds between characters before the game.
Uh-huh.
As you explain yourself. It's really cool. I do it for all my games now, and it really helps for the initial get-together because you all already assume you know each other at least a little bit.
Yeah.
So.
It actually pushes Tenor Zero actually pushes a lot of the role playing part because you could play it as a one time run only thing, or you could play it as a campaign. And I guess it's like hugely popular in Japan, but it was really fun and really good.
Cool. Jackie, what's another one that you like?
Oh man, another one I like.
If it maybe mechanics like the one Gonzo said, where you just like the mechanics of it, you think they're really cool.
It's funny. I play so many games, but being, of course, live on air is when I forget them all. I will say one that I've been reading a lot about recently that I'm really, really excited to actually start playing is the Star Wars Force and Destiny. Just finished the book. I'm actually mimicking our first campaign probably tonight that we did with me GMing it just to kind of get the dice system down. But the system in it is so interesting. The dice in my mind are more like currency. You have these dice you start off with. They're kind of like your copper dice. They're not really exceptional skills. And as you increase yourself, you can switch out one for like your gold or silver dice. It seems like it's a lot more creativity driven rather than mechanical.
It is awesome, especially because it gives the GM a lot of agency to make things go a way that's good for the story based off it. I tell you, the first time you succeed, but you have disadvantages or despair or something there, you're gonna be like, succeed in the most horrible way possible. It's a great feeling because it's just so awesome.
Yes.
I played a short Age of Rebellion game with some of my locals. That was I got the chance to play in that, so it was awesome. I really enjoyed the crap out of it.
Yeah, I can't wait for that. It's gonna be really interesting, especially the Destiny pool and all that good fun stuff.
I've been telling my locals, like, I need someone to take that game system and make a superhero game with that because I feel like that would be perfect.
Oh yeah,
very cool.
Yeah, it's a really good system.
That style so well. The one I most like the mechanics of that I have to back up and punt because I was going to say Star Wars system as well, but I will go with Feng Shui, which is it's. Oh, Gonzo's heard of it. I'm impressed.
I played it.
I have not.
It was a game came out in the 90s based off a card game called Shadow Fist. It was their role-playing game to go with it. It was written by Robin Laws, who's actually a relatively big deal in the role-playing world. He's written a bunch of books on role-playing in general, and it's got a lot of good ideas because it's totally different than so many other games. It's super simple from a rules standpoint because it's basically, it's like Kung Fu action theater.
Yes.
It's like you've got your ninjas, you got your supernatural monsters, you get some cyborgs in the future. Well, not anymore. Now you get crazy chimps in the future, and
even better
societies and everything, and you mash it all together, fighting in something called the Secret War for the control of these feng shui sites, which lets you affect destiny. The more you have, the more things go your way, because that's how feng shui goes. So it's really cool. There's a lot of avenues to it. The game is super simple, but it has a lot of they use shticks as your way of being different than each other. It just plays really well, and it was the first game I saw where in the rule book, in the original one, it said, because people talk about maps and things, it's old D&D stuff. Everyone's like, oh, I get a map down so we can see where everything is. They tell you straight off, the map is not your friend. You don't break up a map. If they want to take the broomstick, crack over their leg, and stake the vampire thing, they can do that because there should be a broomstick there. It's that kind of little things that you should just not even worry about.
Yeah.
It's basically, everything outside of the story is the small stuff, and don't sweat it. I mean, they make it a little crazy once in a while. Might need to spend some sort of like luck or something to have. Well, yeah, of course, there's a a steaming kettle of water on the stove that's going off right now that you can throw in someone's face because you need it. But there's a lot of cool stuff like that I very much enjoy.
Which brings me to my last one that I haven't seen the new edition. I haven't read it. I have a PDF copy of it, but I haven't read it yet. Is Exalted. Exalted, I played in an amazing campaign and loved every minute of it. And if you may know, Exalted, you can play characters that are big badasses. You pretty much play gods for the most part. And you do god things and have god abilities and god powers and can beat people up. If you want to pick up a tree and hit somebody with it, you're more than welcome. But that campaign will always be fun because our guys, we were like the good guys. We didn't mind committing some crimes to get stuff done. And we were playing in this one pre-built thing, and it was pre-built. And this is actually in their game system. I'm going to let that dry a little bit before I do some highlighting on it. And we found this town, and they had this dinosaur. And it was causing problems. So we're like, all right, I'll take that dinosaur. We'll capture it.
Tend to.
We captured the dinosaur. Well, we did some background check and some history checks on it and some lore on it. And we found out the dinosaur pisses heroin.
What?
Yes. This is a heroin pissing dinosaur. So, being the chaotic, good people that we were, and my guy really wasn't that good, we took that dinosaur and captured it and milked it and sold drugs. And I can see John is already looking up, is there a heroin pissing dinosaur in Exalted?
Nope. Didn't even touch the keyboard. Some things do not need to be looked up and saved in my search engine. Yeah, it's just waiting for me to type heroin pissing dinosaur in the keyboard. It's not going to happen.
But yes, there was, and if you know Exalted, it's a D10 system. It's a really good system. Really good combat. It can get bogged down if you don't know how to run it carefully. And you have to, before you start your turn, the next person needs to have their turn figured out. So you got to be really careful. So it can get bogged down combat-wise, but it was actually pretty good. John, what do we have question-wise?
Question-wise, let's see. Giorgio Alessi wants to know, what do we think of the Pathfinder Society?
I won't say Kathy, but Jackie, are you into that?
You know what? I have a lot of contact with a Pathfinder group that's really large.
Uh-huh.
They play at my local game store the night that I play War Machine.
Uh-huh.
And the game seems very fun, but the group can be a little too into it sometimes.
What do you mean?
At least from their experience. I haven't played the game personally. It seems like there's a lot more ambassador things going on than necessarily combat. And there's so many times where I just want to scream with them, just pull out your axe and just kill him. And you won't have to debate anymore. Just take the dragon eggs and go or whatever. But I guess that's not how they're running it there. As far as Pathfinder, that's my only personal experience with it there. Needs more axes.
Needs more axes to the face.
More axes, less talking. Very good.
John, have you dealt with any Pathfinder Society stuff?
I have not, but I like the concept of it. I like when any company gets organized, play together to keep their game going. And like I said, I like the concept, but I never got into Pathfinder when it came out. I was a D&D hardcore D&D guy back then.
Uh-huh.
And didn't jump over when they went to 5th edition D&D either. So It's unlikely I'll have much contact with him unless I get in, but it's a tall order, and it was going to sound weird and kind of preachy, but I really prefer it when games innovate rather than keep the same sacred cows going forever.
Yeah. I like the concept.
Yeah.
I've never been into it, never did it. Um, as much as we want to say I'm kind of antisocial, not really. Is more anxiety thing because I have to keep really close who I have friends. But anytime that you can get people together doing nerd stuff and having nerd friends, I'm all for it.
Oh yeah.
It's just finding the right people is the thing. Because you could have a right group and go, well, these guys suck and they're just not fun to play with because, aka, they're Monty Hall or they role play too much or they get upset when people role play stuff. You know what I'm saying? It just gets a little iffy. So you have to be careful with who you play with.
Yeah, but I like it. It's a good gateway to other games. Make you find a good group because I'll be honest, a good group to me is more important than a good game.
Correct.
A good group will take the worst game ever created, and that would be the World of Cinnabar for anyone out there wondering, and make it super fun.
What's the worst game ever created?
World of Cinnabar.
No, Hole is.
No, it's not. World of Cinnabar, trust me. It is batshit crazy in all the wrong ways.
I'm gonna do something.
But anyways, actually, I would say technically anything by Palladium Books. Shots Fired would be the worst game, but that's just recent.
Shots fired. Yeah,
Yeah.
Palladium.
No,
Still waiting on my Robotech Tactics.
I'll be honest. I started with a lot of Palladium games. They were very fun. They just haven't evolved.
Yeah.
When D&D is the epitome of evolution comparative to you, you have a problem because they backslid for the position. Super fun,
Yeah.
but it's still way more different than their games have gotten in 30 years. So next question is Adam Brickford. He goes, what are the benefits of choosing to run a sorcerer instead of a wizard?
And I think my man, who answered that? I know it was
Dan Griffin did it, but let's see what our answers are, and then I'll read his after we're done.
I'm pretty much all with Dan Griffin. I mean, the ability to choose and kind of being specialized a bit helps out. But I'm an old fart and I like my wizards. So I mean, there is the specialization of being a sorcerer, but I don't know. I just like old school wizards. Nerd.
Jackie, what do you think?
I like sorcerers more. Wizards tend to have to be a little more rehearsed. You kind of have to have more of a game plan. Sorcery, you can kind of just
Wing it.
go in there, yeah, drop a fireball or something, or
Yeah.
That's the main thing. Is I'm not a very good player when it comes to planning ahead. So sorcery over wizardry is always my choice. I'm a bad wizard. It just comes down to that. I did not get my Hogwarts letter.
I actually agree more with Jackie. I will happily sacrifice some of my overall versatility and number of spells known for the ability to put the one I need, or one that's close to the one I need, on the target when I need it. I actually triple classed at one point. I was a monk, psychic warrior, sorcerer, and it was great just having that little variety of spells, and whichever one of the three I knew at that point, first level, I could just put it down whenever I needed to, which was super cool. And Dan Griffin says, sorcerers make better evoker types casters due to not needing to prepare and having a larger number of spells per day, but a much more limited repertoire. It's easier to build sorcerers that have correct blast from the bit spells for any given situation. Indeed, and honestly, for a newer player, it'd be a lot less book work. And less book work for a newer player
That's
is
very
good.
true.
Yeah.
Here's one that I'm not sure how many of us can answer, but Robert Dorefsky, the old flight medic, wants to know, how's the Dresden Files RPG?
I have actually played the Dresden File RPG. And I'm going to say, because it bases off the Fate system, if anybody's ever played the Fate system, the Fate system is not an easy system to play. And the reason why is the Fate system has a nickname of being the storyteller or GM system, because the way you build your character is based on your abilities on how you describe them. So you have to be able to describe what you're doing to do things. And so it is very much a storyteller's RPG. Carl Morgan and I were talking about this because we were talking about the Dresden File RPG. And it's pretty much, you need to be a storyteller to figure out how to play the game. For the simple fact that it's a very descriptive game. The way abilities are done, the way things are set up. I'm trying to keep this in screen, so sorry if I have to stop here. Someone, and get things handled. But it's a very good system because you can do a lot of cool things with it. Does it emulate Dresden Files? Very much so. You have a lot of the background characters, and it depends on how much you want to put, aka Dresden, into it. Because you could just play it as a fantasy system, modern day fantasy type system. Man, got the burps. That dragon milk is good. But it is a very good system. If you like very descriptive role playing games, this one will be for you. Plain and simple. So if you like very descriptive, the Fate dice system is based on pluses and minuses. So depending on what you do depends on your pluses and minuses, and also how you describe what you're going to do too. So it's very role-playing intense on how you do things. But it is a very good system. So if you like Dresden Files, go for it. 100% go play it.
Jackie, do you have any experience with Dresden Files RPG?
No.
I was wondering. I don't have a lot. I actually had borrowed the book for a while because one of my buddies was going to run it, but that never came to be. But the one that stuck out for me is I really like the world building that you're all supposed to go through together at the beginning of the game.
Yes.
The city building is like top notch, and if you can get a cheap PDF copy of that game just to read that portion as a game master, it will pay dividends on building a cooperative world, which will keep your people more invested and make it feel much more real and lived in.
Yeah, because one of the things you have to do is before you even get started, you all have to write something about each other's character. And you all have to build on each other's characters, on how you know each other, interact with your characters. It's part of the character building. So it's definitely, if you like Dresden Files, you'll like the system. If you like heavy role playing, you'll love the system.
Sweet. Next one is let me figure if I can pronounce his last name. Joe Orthober. He says, do you feel, as I do, that the old Deadlands had the best and most integrated rules system? Gonzo, you familiar with the old Deadlands system?
I am. I played the original Deadlands system, and I also played the Savage Worlds Deadlands system, which, by the way, if you want to play in a really good system and want to play any type of world, Savage Worlds is it for you if you want to do that. I'll pimp that all the time.
If you want it super easy, get your Savage Worlds. It is the easy button to playing lots of systems. I'd also recommend it.
Yeah, and it's a good one too. Yeah, it's good. We actually, before FFG made a Star Wars, we made Star Wars in the Savage World setting. With Savage World Wolves. So I still have that PDF. It was really good. But yeah,
Deadlands is good. Yeah, it was.
If you like a good Western demon-esque, weird type thing.
Weird Wild West.
Yeah.
It's Weird Wild West. It's the definition of it.
I will agree with him that it is a good system, the original, but Savage Lands is just so easy and so good for people to play in.
So I don't know if I would call the Deadlands system the best and most integrated, but it's in the conversation for it.
Yeah, I'm talking about in between the two.
Oh, yeah. Well,
in between the two.
I like the quirkiness of the original one and using your hand of playing cards for stuff.
Yes.
So, but yeah, it was pretty good. I definitely like it. It would be in the conversation because a lot of systems now are a little. I mean, not to be critical of them. It's not like a bad thing, but they're a little jarring sometimes how different portions of them are.
Yeah.
But Jackie, do you have any experience with the Deadlands system?
No. I'm a normie when it comes to the Deadlands system.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. It was not even a huge system when it came out. It had a good small cult following,
Mm-hmm.
kept it around for a while, but it wasn't ever one of the big boys.
No.
I may have been too young for that one.
What do you mean too young? 10 years
How
is
old
too
is
young.
this?
Oh, Deadlands, good lord, that's a good question. Uh,
I have
I
no
want to
clue.
say it's pre 2000, 1996.
Ooh, I won't tell you what I was doing that year.
I appreciate it. I was 3 years out of high school.
Going to
But
that. Before we, how much time? What time are we at, John?
we're at 8:57, and we have one more question.
Okay, go for it.
Do you ever play text-based online RPGs? And he also asks, or play on Roll20, which I think we've all said we don't do. But
Never played a text based.
oh, really? No.
Yeah, I
Jack?
played a couple. What was that site called? Lost Realms was the one that I was really into. You know, being a child of the 90s and not being able to Google everything, that was very hard to get into at first when you're a stranger to it. Just navigating the area and everything. But I had a lot of fun. I met a lot of fun people online doing that.
Sweet. I never did Lost Realms, but I have done one, and you're gonna date me. One play-by-post on a BBS.
Oh my God.
that did date you. You were dated.
Yeah, you pose on, you do what your character's doing, and then get off. So someone else can get on and do the same thing. And I've also done a couple play-by-emails, which are very cool. I ended up quitting them just because groups like that fall apart occasionally. But I never did quite the play-by-mail where you mail off your stuff. That's
Holy
a
shit.
little too crazy.
How do you
for me.
even build a group for that? Yeah. Write them a letter. Do you want to play my game?
Well, you'd probably respond to a letter in the back of Dragon magazine back when it was the big generic gaming magazine. Did
Oh
everything.
man.
And
That-
then everyone would see it. You get a bunch of people, and you'd write letters back and all. And stamps were cheap even back then. Hell, they were much cheaper back then. And you would just get a group together and play by email. The play by BBS was difficult because of the speed it moved at. The play by email was a lot easier, and I would consider a play by email as a viable alternative to another game.
I know people that still do a play by email.
Yeah, you can easily. You just have to be people who are a little better at working on people's ideas in.
Yeah.
And you definitely have to practice shtick preservation, which we'll cover in more depth in another role playing podcast. When we get more into the nitty gritty of the role plans.
Before we go into the media section, I want to talk about game systems real quick, and not go too in depth with it, but just enough to talk about the top game systems, because I think that's very important. While D&D has been around forever, rolling 1d20 to see if you hit and do stuff just doesn't cut it anymore, in my
Well,
opinion.
I don't know. I think it's perfectly fine. I mean, like I said, I haven't played 5th edition, but in 4th edition, it worked plenty fine. There are a lot of ways to modify the roll. In fact, I like it because you can actually set it so that you have a standard probabilities for success in a situation that's very easy to track because it's a d20. It's just a straight line probability.
Yeah.
And then your modifiers mean so much more. I played a 4th edition game where we used, rather than, because 4th edition expected you to have a magic item of your level pretty much all the time. So that, yeah, you had armor that was, at level 1 through 5, you had +1 armor, then you get +2 at the next batch. It expects you to have all that. So I just worked all those bonuses into it. So when I handed you a magic sword and it gave you a bonus to hit, that was a bonus to hit. That wasn't like, oh, you're expected to have that. That was like a +1 above. You were above the curve now, sir. You're better off than everyone else. But it requires a little work, but it is predictable and easy. It's a lot to be said for being predictable and easy.
Well, what I mean is, to me, just rolling one dice to see what I do for a turn, to me, is not worth it anymore. Because there's too much. FFG has a really good system that even though you succeed, something bad can happen. Or even if you fail, something good can happen out of your fail. So, I mean, that really pushes, and it brings more to it. Go ahead.
On the other side, Hero System has for years used a 3d6 system, and to even make your head explode more, to hit, you need to roll low.
That's cool. I ain't got a problem with that.
Now I've changed it in our game. It's easy to do. It's just a quick math flip where you need to roll. I made it so you need to roll high to hit, just so it's all high because it's a lot more intuitive.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised how much rolling low to hit makes people's heads explode.
Yeah.
But 3d6 is it even gives you an even better because it's a bell curve. You can go like I know they'll hit these guys this percentage of the time, and you can rely on that. Unlike the D20 where 55% of the time, but it's still a straight bell curve, it's still a straight line.
Yeah, there is no percentage system to the D20. It is
it's
a cruel die to roll.
Yeah, it's like if you hit on a 9 or better, it's a good percent. You know exactly what kind of percent you got.
Yeah.
But there's no guarantees. On 3d6, it's harder for it to spike one way or the other. But that doesn't mean it's necessarily bad. Malifaux uses a system, or Through the Breach, where you don't even roll dice. It's all numbers and then your card flip.
Gotcha.
So it's predictable. Like it's 1 through 13, which is a big swing, but you also know, like if you see all 13 comes up, there's not gonna be any for a little bit.
Yeah.
Earthdawn
Earthdawn has an interesting system that it's a step based, and it's based on the dice. They have a chart for how you hit. And I wouldn't say a chart. It's like step 1 is 1d4 minus 2. Step 2 is 1d4 minus 1, and then it can change. And you can increase and decrease your steps based on things you do in the game. Like, I'm going to take a defensive stance. Well, your defense goes up by this, but your attack ability goes down by this many steps. You're going to go aggressive. Well, your defense goes down, but your attack step goes up. Also, armor is very important in the game. That even though you may be easy to hit, your armor soaks the damage, which I think was really missing for me in D&D.
D&D is the epitome of abstract.
Yeah, it is very.
Not every time you're missed, you're not missed. You may be hit, but it glances off your armor.
Correct.
Or doesn't fit your armor or whatever. It takes a little imagination to it.
Correct. Yeah, it does. But this one to me brought in a little bit more, and I want to say realism into a fantasy game, but. Anytime you took damage in Earthdawn, you could have armor defeating hits, but your armor would soak some of the damage. So a heavy hitting, a fighter that didn't have great defense could still survive because his armor could take it, even though he could be hit multiple times, if you know what I'm saying.
It does let you get the clumsy brute fighter in, which is a hard trope for D&D to work with.
Correct.
Because the clumsy brute fighter just takes it in the face again and again and again, and that's no bueno.
Yeah. So.
There's a lot of different ones out there. We could probably fill a podcast talking about them.
Yeah. I just wanted to give the best ones or the ones you thought were good. Jackie, do you have one that you liked the most?
Honestly, he kind of hit the nail on the head of mostly 5th edition. I actually really like the randomness of the D20. Our campaigns, when we roll them, everyone's on the, on the tips of their seats there, just waiting to see what happens and everything. I enjoy missing because just as much as I miss, I can critically hit or do something that's horrible in the game. So that really works out. I've always liked the randomness of it all, though. I like to have very little control in it all.
Well, it makes the situational modifiers so much better.
It does.
Like
it
a surprise
really
attack giving you a bonus means so much more in a situation like that. Was it Xander Vorlord Wenchen's the dice pools from Shadowrun, which were great.
Just too much.
I don't know. I mean, rolling a lot of 6-siders is fun. That's sort of the concept of 40K.
I don't want to roll 70 6-siders. How about that?
I'll have to roll 70.
I do love the roll. I do love the going back on Shadowrun. That's got one of the best worlds that I've ever seen.
Yes, it is super fun. I'd like to pick it up. Actually, Norin has mentioned maybe running it. We gotta make it to play the game. Play the game.
All right, I think I'm done for this right now. Because we're about to go into media section. So that looks actually...
Indeed, we've got a lot of media in a section.
Yes, we do have a lot of media. And I have more beer to drink because I've only gotten through half of this bottle, and it's a huge bottle. So we're going to go switch over to media section. It is time, right?
Yeah, it is time. Just
all right.
You know, the Sprite and Jim Beam apple were really good.
Did it really?
Just maybe put a little too much Jim Beam in that.
Look, Skycam.
Skycam. I was watching Superb Owl a little bit.
Look,
There's
all
Skycam
my toys. All
So
right.
glorious.
So glorious. Such a nerd cave.
Oh my god.
All right. Let's go ahead and go to the media
Fun.
section. Boom.
Jack, we
Media.
didn't ask you in the pre-ramble. How many do you have in the media section? How many movies and TV shows and such did you watch?
I actually only want to talk about one movie. One.
Uh,
Oh, sorry.
I asked Jackie so we can plan properly.
Shut
yeah,
up.
there we go. Ask me. He asked me. I saw a new movie today,
Oh.
or this week, I should say. It was yesterday. They're all blurring together. Yeah, honestly, not so much TV shows right now. I've been really preoccupied with other facets.
So, gone to anyone order this. I watched 3 movies. 2 I should talk about
Ooh.
at once because I watched the second one because someone mentioned it after I watched the first one.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Cool.
So I'll lead. On Wednesday, I watched Assassins, old Sylvester Stallone movie with
Oh,
Antonio
yeah.
Banderas, Julianne Moore.
Yes.
Now, the first thing that stood out to me of this movie, I haven't seen it in a long time, but I bought that Stallone collection on Blu-ray like months ago,
Mm-hmm.
slowly working through them, and it's the people that work on this. This is directed by Richard Donner from Lethal Weapon and Superman 2 and all that. Well, kicked off Superman 2, Superman 1. It was written by the Wachowskis.
Yes.
The screenplay done by the Wachowskis, which shocked me. It is a surprisingly fun little movie considering it's talking about hitmen. Part of that is Antonio Banderas is just great to watch in a movie. It's very young, and this is one of his first Hollywood roles. And the whole plot is Stallone is a hitman who wants to retire. It's been eating away at him for years. He had killed one of his friend hitmen's, and it's eaten away at him. And he finally like, all right, you offer me this big score, I'm gonna take it and then leave. While Antonio Banderas is trying to kill him and do better than him to be number 1. And then Julianne Moore is the mark, and I'm not going to spoiling it. Basically, they get together, Stallone and Julianne Moore, because Antonio Banderas is after, and he just wants to try and get some money and get out. He's done. And it turns to this whole cat and mouse. Well, not really cat and mouse. It's surprising how few action scenes are in this.
Mm-hmm.
The ones that are enjoyable, they're not all just shootouts. There's some interesting scenes of him in a taxi where he's basically driving Antonio Banderas to a different part because Antonio Banderas hasn't seen him, doesn't know what he looks like, and tries to get him to get out of the car so he can shoot him when he gets out. Because in the car there's bulletproof glass. Because, and I guess it looked like Chicago, and you would have bulletproof glass in the cabs. But it's pretty fun following each other and the sort of way history repeats itself with Antonio Banderas going to shoot Stallone as he gets out, tries to get out of this thing the same way Stallone shot his friend.
Yes.
It's pretty solid. I definitely say give it a watch. I give it about 2 shots of Kraken. It is on the good side of action movies. It's a little bit dated. Stallone plays he still plays a sort of noble assassin. He won't shoot cops and all that. You know, one of those assassins with a you call him a true professional. He's only trying to kill the guys that are
Deserve it.
involved with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or that are involved with it. He didn't care about deserve.
Yeah.
But overall, it's pretty good. It's probably it holds up better than it has a right to because, man, technology. Woo. Every time you hear those tones when you dial up the modem, you're like, "Eee."
Yeah.
But yeah, two shots of Kraken. Antonio Banderas is fun to watch in it, and Stallone's decent. Julianne Moore is fine as female interest. There's no direct love relationship between them, which is a bonus for movies for me because I always feel like that's unrealistic as fuck. But then I told my buddy at work that I watched that. He's like, well, how does it hold up versus The Specialist, which is another Stallone movie from a similar time frame where he plays another sort of assassin. And let me tell you, The Specialist doesn't hold up at all. Even though it's James Woods and Sharon Stone and Stallone, it is not half as good as Assassins.
Yeah.
It's not fun. It's too slow. It's trying to be... I don't know what it's trying to be. It's trying to be more than it can be.
Yes.
And it just fails, unfortunately. Plus, the whole love story between Stallone and Sharon Stone is just fucking ridiculous.
I really liked Assassins. It's really good.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of fun. it's it's one of my favorite Antonio Banderas because his character is such a douche.
But understandable. You're like,
Yes.
yeah, he's a little comically. That's the thing. They made these characters extreme stereotypes, but in a movie where you don't give any words to their backgrounds, it helps a ton. Well, the characters in The Specialist are a lot more understated.
Yes.
And it hurts because they have to spend time trying to give them backgrounds, and you realize you're watching the movie, you don't fucking care. You just want them to get to the fucking monkey.
Yes.
Like, blow something up already. You're supposed to just blow something up. The movie was paced poorly. I think it was written from the wrong point of view. They needed to get right into it and grab you. The movie needs to grab you early. The movie does not grab you early. And, I mean, it's 3.5 shots of Kraken. You definitely want a good buzz when you're watching this thing. It's because it does not pay off well enough at all.
Okay, so hold on before that, because we did say we were going to do 2 giveaways. I showed that we have 11 people in the chat, but I only show like 8. So if you're not logged in, you need to be logged in right now so we can give away a new RPG, which we haven't talked about, which I will give a...
Oh, yes, log right in, yeah.
So I can give this so you can be part of this. I'm showing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and it shows we have 11, not counting us 2, of course. 7. So we're missing like one person.
Probably 11 people watching who aren't logged in.
Look at Crimson. Crimson's like, just give it to me. I'm logged in. All right, guys. Before we get started and we go to the next section, I have this book, and it's called The Shadows of Estrin. And I didn't talk about it during the session because I want to talk about it here. This book is, and the best way to describe it is Game of Thrones meets Call of Cthulhu. If you like worlds that don't have a lot of magic in it, you definitely will like this. There is magic in it. Don't let that go. But there is technology also. And this book is gorgeous. These guys did a Kickstarter. They made some incredible artwork in this. I mean, this book is a work of art unto itself. I own 2 copies, so I'm giving away one of my copies because I want someone else to enjoy it. The world is very deadly. It is very scary. It is very evil in its aspects. If you like it, buy the rest of the things. Buy the rest of their products.
All the things.
These guys are really good. I bought the Kickstarter, and then I went and met them at Gen Con. And they were so awesome at Gen Con. I actually had a friend of mine that had a question about the game and on the phone, and he took my phone call. He took my phone from me and goes, let me talk to him. I'll answer his question.
Honestly, every game designer I've met has been that cool.
Yes, which is really good to have. You want game designers that are happy to talk about their stuff.
Was it Paul Hume from Shadowrun fame was upset because he heard from our mutual friend George that I had a copy of the first edition Shadowrun signed by the other 2 authors. He demanded, when we went to George's birthday party, that I bring that book with me because, damn it, he was going to sign it too. Which I thought was super legit.
When I met them at Gen Con, they were taking their books that they were selling and creating artwork inside of the books and selling it for like an extra $5 more or something.
Oh, that's very cool.
And it was like, not just like pencil drawings and stick figures. I'm talking about full, awesome artwork. These guys are really cool. The system is very different. Magic is done really cool. So like if you don't just throw a fireball, you have to choose how many people you want to hit the fireball, how many models you're going to hit, how far do you want to hit, how much damage you want to hit, so you can upgrade and change your thing. Melee is super deadly. They stress in this game, do not get into combat unless you have to. Try to work everything out before, because healing is not like you normally would. It's really good. Whoever gets this, you're getting a piece of art. And all their stuff they bring out is gorgeous. They actually have a DVD and CD to have music to play along with it. So it's really good. So I'm going to give you, at 8:25, we will give this away to one lucky person. But on top of that, So you have just a little bit to log in. You have to be logged in to get a chance because we can't see your name. But before we do that, let's go and give away our miniature.
Oh yeah, shit.
Because we have our miniature. We totally forgot about it. I was all painting and I was like, oh. For anybody that doesn't know, Kathy, which is not on today, paints up a miniature and gives away to our patron subscribers at the $15 level. And I've written down the names. And Jackie, since you are a person, give me a number between 1 and 4.
3.
Aaron Stone. Aaron Stone, you are our lucky winner of our miniature. I do already have your address, so I will get that to you as soon as possible. Or I'll have Kathy send it to you. I'll let her know and she'll send that out. John, what model is that?
That is Colette Dubois from Malifaux. It's actually one of her avatar models you really, really can't get anymore, but makes a perfectly fine use for her in Malifaux.
So that what we're doing. All right. So, Jackie, what's your media section?
So I watched something pretty new this week. I would not be surprised if neither of you guys caught it. It was the movie The Death Cure. It's the third installment of the Maze Runner trilogy. If you guys remember that from the tail end of the teenage dystopian genre there.
Mm-hmm.
I actually heard a review of it.
Did you? I hope you liked the review. So if you love Maze Runner, it's good to go see it to, see the ending. But at the same time, if you really, really love Maze Runner, you might just want to kind of let it end where it ended. It's pretty half-hearted, I'm not gonna lie. You can't bring alcohol with you to the movie theater, but if you could have...
Oh, you've never heard of a flask, have you? Not that I'm promoting bringing up flasks to movie theaters.
No, never.
Well, I'm going to have to start promoting it now, because that seems like a pretty good idea. There's not much more I can say about the movie without it being kind of spoilers. I mean, the movie from the second you walk in till afterwards is, endgame stuff there. It was a nice way to say goodbye to that genre. I will say that, because I don't think I'm going to see any more teenage dystopian movies after that.
It is fair to point out with this movie that the lead actor had an accident, so they had to delay finishing the movie for like a year or two.
Yes,
so,
I believe he broke his leg.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. Yeah, so definitely keep that in mind when you're watching it and give them a little bit of leeway for that. You can't hold that against them. Because he does his own stunts, and, hats off to any actors who won't do their stunts.
So, Jackie, how many shots of Kraken do you need to take?
Well, I'm a pretty light drinker, so I'm going to say 3.
Ooh.
Maybe not.
The scale only goes to 5.
So you got to have quite a few to get through it.
Yeah, it's a very long movie, too. I think it was about 2 hours, so you maybe have to spread them out a little bit there.
I've heard really, really good things with the first one, and then less as it goes along.
Yeah, it kind of is like that. It's definitely a slope. The first movie, though, is very good. It definitely feeds into that whole, setting up the scenery and whatnot for it.
Yeah, if you guys think you're interested in that, there's a YouTube channel called Cinema Wins, which is the opposite of Cinema Sins, and he does everything great about X movie. And he did one on the first Maze Runner, and I'm like, that actually seems like an interesting movie. It might make me go see it. I'm just hoping it comes out for free on something, because I prefer not to pay money if I can't. I don't have to. Call me crazy. So, Gonzo, did you watch anything besides the one Netflix series that we're going to talk about?
No, and I almost binge watched the whole thing. I'm on episode 7.
Wow. Well, let me get my other one out of the way real quick, because it's an old movie. I sat down last night and watched Ocean's 11.
Awesome.
It's still super fun. It's still super good. Watching it this time with a little bit of a critical eye. There are a couple scenes where I'm like, okay, I see they made a boo-boo there. And I do realize the middle of the movie, when they introduce Julia Roberts' character, is the slowest point. And I'm not going to say it's a bad addition, but it definitely is the weakest part of the movie. The plot with her. I understand why it's important and all for the movie, but it is, if you're being critical, the weakest part of the movie. But still fun. It still is the standard bearer for the get all the famous actors together ensemble heist movies.
Mm-hmm.
Still super fun, still super great. As long as you make it that slow portion in the middle, top notch. I actually stopped in the middle, went did some other stuff, came back, and got to the rest of it, no problem. I'll give it, a half shot of Kraken. You don't really need too much at all. You probably want to take that half shot in the middle season, middle part where it's getting a little slow.
It's still a great, great, great heist ensemble movie.
Absolutely.
One of my favorite ensemble heist
Mm-hmm.
movies. I love watching Ocean 11. I think it's the key and interesting area to go. Here it is. Here's a great ensemble of actors. Here's a great heist. This is what you should do.
Yeah, just let
100%.
They look like they're having fun, and that translates through, which is great.
Great. Xander was mentioning the Italian Job. Same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. They're right up there. Like they're both great.
Really good, solid ones. Before we get into I know we said 8:25, but we're about to talk about something that is really, really important. And it's going to be a long one. John, how many people do we have in our chat channel that does not count me and you? Who are signed in?
Me and you. I don't know. I've got the spinny wheel of death. 2, 4, 6, up to 8, sir.
8 people. All right.
And no one in Facebook posted letting me know they were watching, so it's just me in there.
Okay, so it's just you in there. All right, guys, we're going to go and give away. Jackie, give us number 1 through 8.
Random Jackie.
Oh, number 1 through 8. 6.
Who is number 6?
5, 6. It is The Thing from Space.
Dude, first time coming in and you win something? Nice. The Thing from Space. If you could do me a favor and send me your email address and, of course, your real name, we will send this out to you free of charge, of course, and you will get your copy of the RPG. Do that as soon as you can. If we do not get that from you quickly, I will send it to someone else. Hopefully you're there listening. Please be there.
I can't message him, so I don't know. But it looks like he's here.
Yeah, sweet. Sometimes we get people to listen and then just like ditch out. Thing from Space, please send me a message of your address either here or on Facebook. Please include your real name. And also like us on Facebook if you haven't already. And I will send that to you, and you'll get it to us shortly. Before we get into this, let's also thank Tectonic Studios for providing. If you don't know Archidan, you know his stuff. You need to. Dude is super awesome. A great person to be around. And also, we are going to be. I got something planned with him that you're going to like, John.
I like anything with Archidan. He's a cool dude.
Him and I are working together on some stuff, and him and I are we having a quick conversation, and we're going to see if we can do something really cool for him lately. But let's go into our next one, and this I'm super, super excited about.
His Gonzo. I actually watched the first episode myself just so I could talk a little bit about it.
7 episodes in. Oh, looks like we lost Jackie. Hopefully she'll come back shortly.
Jackie, no.
So go ahead. What are we talking about, John?
We're talking about Altered Carbon, which is a new Netflix original series based off a series of books, of course, because that's everything right now, which is cool. And it is super duper cyberpunk.
Oh yeah, it is. If anybody has not seen this on Netflix, you need to, especially if you're a good cyber fan, because this is amazing.
Give the first episode a shot. If the first episode doesn't grab you, maybe not. But I mean, I was halfway through the first episode. I told Gonzo halfway through, and I'm like, man, that was a great episode. Then I'm like, oh shit, I'm only halfway through this episode.
Yes. I get that too. When I'm watching the show, I'm like, oh, this is about to end. Wait, next episode's coming up. And then all of a sudden I'm like, no, we got like a 30 to 40 more minutes to go. 30, 20 minutes to go before this works. And I'm like,
yeah,
this
the first episode sold me. It is very cyberpunk. It smacks a lot of Infinity too.
Eclipse Phase.
Eclipse Phase, yeah.
If you like the role-playing game Eclipse Phase, you'll love this because a lot of the terms are also from the same thing. But I think that's kind of universal, like the cordal stacks and sleeves and stuff like that.
I think they sort of they got together on this and they're like mutually working off the same kind of technology or source idea for
Uh
that.
huh.
It smacks a little bit of Blade Runner, but I mean, let's be honest, Blade Runner is a big cyberpunk influence, so it's going to
Correct.
be involved in anything cyberpunk. I mean, it's like saying, "Oh, this is very influenced by Neuromancer." Yeah, well, no shit, it's cyberpunk.
Yeah, Neuromancer.
That's what
We
the a lot of the critics are saying is that it's so very much Blade Runner sequel type thing. I'm like, well, that's sort of the idea. It's using a lot of core cyberpunk ideas, which is
yes,
great because it means you have an instant connection to the story. You know it is. They said cortical stack, and even if I hadn't used that term before, I had an idea what they were talking about. So let me
yes,
get into it. And at the end, and I'm only one episode in, so it's not really a spoiler. It seems like it's going to be a cool murder mystery.
yes. Ray Baum says it was a book, and I actually looked it up as soon as I started watching. I'm like, what is this based off of? Because I know it's got to be
Mhm.
based off something. It probably wasn't a unique, thing because Hollywood can't do unique pretty much anymore. Um, and I looked at the book and I read the synopsis of the book, and I was like, oh, that's cool because it has to do with a lot of religious aspects also, which they're
It
not
does.
really hitting a lot in the show about that, but they
Oh,
do
I don't
hit
know.
on.
They definitely hit on the first episode to set down,
Yes,
laid
it's
the groundwork for it. So when it comes up, I'm not going to be surprised.
no, no, no. That's what I'm saying. It just is not the center focal point. Is you know what I'm saying? But it is in there, and it's very good. If you haven't watched it and you haven't got to the episode, Abuela, Grandma, is the greatest thing in the entire series.
So I'm on episode 1, but I have an idea what you may be talking about, and
Yeah.
it gives me something to look forward to.
Grandma is amazing. I laughed my ass off the whole time Grandma was in. The one thing that I will say about this thing, yeah, Grandma was awesome, is the way that they have to deal with this because you have so many characters. And if you don't know, this is not a spoiler. Consciousness is downloaded into a device now, and you can put that device in different bodies. And so you can live forever, technically.
Hmm.
And so you can be put in different bodies. And it's interesting until you kind of get used to it that, oh, this guy is actual this guy also, even though they're different actors.
Yeah,
And
you'll catch that pretty quick in the first episode.
yes,
The couple times it happens. So, I also really like that Joel Kinnaman is living up to the sort of hype that Hollywood has foisted upon us. You know, he's been in so many things. Everyone's like, he's okay, but why are you pushing him? And this, you're like, okay, I see why you're pushing him.
yes,
This is sort of doing for him what the first season of The Expanse did for Thomas Jane.
yes.
Where you're saying like, okay, I see it now. You're giving him something to work with now.
Yes, this series is, and I hope they get more series out of it because it is incredible. Yeah, some lines are kind of pushed, but they hit all the things. If you have ever played the game Eclipse Phase, which is an RPG, it very much you will find this amazing. And if you haven't played Eclipse Phase, go get the books. Yeah, they're great.
Yeah,
Um,
and yes, Ender Warlord, it definitely does sound like a ghost. It is much more Ghost in the Shell than Shadowrun, but very much it's cyberpunk. It is pure good, higher tech, but cyberpunk nonetheless.
Yeah, it is amazing. The visuals are incredible. The action has been pretty good. The characters are really good. The lines and some of them, you're just like, oh shit, grandma. Oh, and hello, unicorn. You'll
I haven't
have
played that
to.
one yet.
You'll see it. Hello, unicorn is great, and it's subtle because you don't see it.
Now I'm just torn on should I watch the rest of this or should I finish off season 2 of The Expanse first?
Watch the rest of this because this has been really good. I can't wait to finish it. It's been really, really awesome. Looks like Jackie's trying to come back in. I'm gonna see if I can get her back in. It is. I will tell you right now that yes, it plays off all the other things of all the other sci-fi shows, but it was really good. Hey, Jackie, welcome back. You all right?
Hello. Yeah, I have to apologize. We have quite a snowstorm going on my coast, so I had to go find other means to get back online. I apologize.
That's okay.
But
No
here I
problem.
am.
We've been talking about the Netflix series
Altered
Altered Carbon,
Oh, okay.
which is a sci-fi thing. So we're kind of going over that. Guys, I will pimp this series out like crazy because it is great. It's got visuals that are incredible. Poe is amazing. You learn about all the good artificial intelligence.
Is Poe the guy in charge of the hotel?
Yes.
Ah, okay. He's already amazing, and I haven't even learned his name.
Yes. Everything about this show is great. The graphics, you name it. It is, if you like sci-fi, if you like cyberpunk, if you like dystopian type futures, but it's not too dystopian in the fact
No,
that
it's a lot more upbeat than the standard dystopian. It's not
Yeah.
like terrible. It's
it's
like
terrible that the
future of now.
rich are in all control.
So it's like now.
Yes.
It's just hitting the nail on the head more. It's not like
Yes.
in the shadows. It's like just blazing lights going, yep, the rich are in control.
Yes. But I mean, everything about this show, 100% binge watch it. It is incredible. I love the crap out of this.
It's
Zero
really
shots
enjoyed
at
it.
Kraken.
Yeah, zero shots of Kraken. Check it out. And remember, guys, with the stuff like this from Netflix, if it misses you a little bit, at least watch a couple episodes trying to see if it's your thing, because it'll keep Netflix and Amazon Prime and all those guys doing this kind of thing.
Yeah, 100%. I hope we get another series out of this. But we want to talk about something that's kind of pissing me off about critics. And John, we mentioned this kind of before the pre-ramble, and you and I were talking about how the critics are slamming the shit out of this series.
Yeah, I mean, with not even good complaints. I liken it to when John Carter came out. John Carter, which is actually a decent movie.
Mhm.
Like, it's all stuff we've seen before. Well, like, yeah, it's based on a book from 100 fucking years ago. Everyone's already stolen bits from this. You can't really hold that against the movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's being more true to the material. It feels kind of Blade Runner-y, but I mean, it's like saying something cyberpunk feels like Neuromancer. Well, no shit.
It's the
Neuromancer's
same
the
thing.
progenitor of all this stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be honest, if you go out there, if you read enough cyberpunk books, and I've read quite a few when I first got into Shadowrun, everything is going to seem like, oh, I've seen that before. I've seen that before. You have to enjoy it. And I think the critics are just trying, I don't know what the critics are trying to do. They all have their own agenda. Don't ever think that.
Yes.
Even the guys on YouTube, some of them don't, but most of them have their own agenda. If you ever see the clickbaity, link there saying like, "Oh, Altered Carbon's just a rip-off of Blade Runner," don't click that shit. Fuck them. Now, if you see someone going like, "This is my review of Altered Carbon," no clickbaity, take a look at that, because that guy's legitimately reviewing it to get his hits. He's got an ulterior motive, but some of it's a clickbait world. They want you to click on their links so they get their monies, and they'll say something. They'll hate something just so you can click on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, just they can put a big headline up the top there.
Yep.
Mhm.
100% go watch it. Binge watch it completely.
And I'll say it's for everything. It's harder for a movie because they're expensive. But if you can get a movie in the cheap theater near you, watch the movies in the cheap theater, give it a shot. It may not be their thing. It might just be your thing.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind. Holy moly.
I do want to say something because Xander, or who was it? Who brought it up? Rave Bomb brought it up. And I watched it, and the series finale was this week. And if you are not a fan of bad language,
Oh,
disgusting
yeah,
depravity, horrible bad things happening to people, you will not like this. But if you want
No.
to see what Deadpool would be like as a detective, you need to watch Happy.
Okay.
You need to watch Happy. Happy is an incredible. Chris Molinari, I don't remember his last name. He was on Law and Order. Is amazing. So we've already talked about it already once, but the season finale was this week. 100% go watch that. That show is so damn funny. The first 2 episodes had me laughing so loud that I woke people up in the house. It is horrible. It is, they don't pull any punches. They make fun of themselves. I mean, the warning before the show is, do you want to see like hookers sniffing crack, or cocaine, drunken horses, all this, weird, bad stuff. I'm really surprised they got away with what they did. But it is really good. And actually, we've gone quite far over, John.
And the last note is, go check out the teaser trailer for Solo. It doesn't suck.
Yes.
Yes.
If you haven't know, the Super Bowl show, during the Super Bowl, they showed a trailer for Solo. And it actually looked pretty good.
Yeah, gives me a little bit of hope. Like, I mean, I'm a little worried. Whenever you have that level of problems in a movie, I get a little worried. But so far, it looks pretty decent.
Yeah. Everything looks pretty decent. With that said, guys, if you've been watching and you haven't followed our channel, please follow our channel. Also, look for us on YouTube. Be a subscriber there because sometimes we post stuff that is not on Twitch. Also, look on our Facebook page and check out everything there because that's where we post most of our things, especially any posts about War Machine or any miniature games. It's just quick blurbs.
Hashtag hobby streak.
And hashtag hobby streak. If you are a hobbying person, and it doesn't have to be, excuse me, I've been drinking a lot. If it hasn't been, it doesn't have to be painting. It could be playing games. That's part of the hobby. Check out the Facebook group, hashtag hobby streak. Post up there. Everybody likes to see your work. Don't think that nobody wants to see it. Everybody likes to see your work. Help push everybody to do better. Help people to do things. I can't remember who's running that Facebook group, by the way.
It's actually Miles, Necro Miles.
Yeah.
Running that.
I can't remember who it was. I'm a little buzzed right now. But go and check it out. The Facebook group Hobby Streak. It is really good to see what people are doing and see how everybody pushes everybody and provide some information. That way you don't spam other channels.
Yeah.
What else? I think that's it, John.
I think that's it.
I think that's a podcast. I think it is. Guys, don't forget to join us next week when we talk with everybody to talk about Breach Storm. Check out our
Trevor
Facebook
Attridge.
page. Yeah, Trevor Attridge. And a week after that, John will be singing "You've Got the Touch."
That's right.
2 weeks.
I'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
2
I get
weeks.
that next week. I'm gonna practice. That's my law.
So prepare yourself. So other than that, thanks for watching the More Than Dice. I'm Gonzo.
I'm John.
I'm Jacqueline.
Have a good night, guys.
Night.
I didn't know this beer was like 12% alcohol. It's a lot of alcohol.
I brought the whole bottle up. Jack Daniels.
Oh. It's a lot of alcohol. I mean, a lot of alcohol. I'm gonna turn it down because that was a little fucking loud.
Yeah, it happens.
But yeah, I didn't know this thing was like 11 to 12% for volume. And it's a pint. I gotta finish this off. It's really fucking good. I'm going to buy another 6-pack of this. Just a little.